If anyone's wondering where I've been, well, I have been onto the boat scene. That's why there's not a lot of dirt bike videos. So I was getting my boat ready all spring, doing EVA foam flooring, wiring, lights, all kinds of stuff. And I've been out fishing and I kind of hardly get out on the bike. I've been out a few times, did some spring riding, and then there's this big, July, August heat. And that's where I kind of slow down on the riding. So here's the bike that everyone's used to, the 2022 KTM XC 125. It's been a great bike. Now, added something different to the stable here. I've gone backwards. Most guys go from Yamaha to KTM and they convert over and say, hey, once you've gone that route, you don't want to go back. I kind of was that person, but I've also always wanted to try one of these bikes. So I ended up picking one up. I rode one once before, but it had a recluse clutch. It had no back brake pedal. The back brake was actually where the clutch lever is. So I couldn't even really get a good feel of it. And I have ridden these bikes where my buddy has a 2021 YZ250 non-X model. So I have an idea of what they're like, but I've never owned a 250X. And I've always wondered, is the hype true? Is it a good trail bike? Whatever that may be. So hopefully this video, I'm going to try not to rant. I'll try not to ramble, which is really tough. I want to keep everything to the point, keep things informative, entertaining, and hopefully this will help somebody make the decision, because I went back and forth and I did a lot of reading and it was a little bit tough. So I have both bikes right now and I've only put maybe 2 or 3 hours on the Yamaha, and I don't know if I should keep the KTM. I've been kind of back and forth with it. I actually put the stock silencer on, took the bars off, went for a ride with the stock silencer, changed things up, and I'm like, yeah, I might actually keep it. So I'll try and do a comparison from the top to bottom here. Let's see, we're starting with the bars. These have Niken bars, N-E-K-E-N. They're not bad bars, pretty low bend on them, comfortable but stiff. This has, I think they're a deviation of a Pro Taper bar. This has lock-on grips. This had cheapo Yamaha grips. And it actually came with full wraparound handguards, which I took off the day I got home because I do not like wraparound handguards. That's personal preference. Some guys like them, some guys don't. I love the flag handguards just to stop brush. That's it. That's the only thing I need them for. Right here, magic button, electric start. Okay, so that is very, I would say, I don't know. That's a tough one. Everybody goes back and forth and says it's essential. You know, everything needs an electric start. I don't believe that. I think it's needed when it's needed and not needed when it's not needed. So when it's needed, hard enduro, stops on the edge of hills, stuff like that, where you're in tough situations where you can't kick the bike over. If I have the hill, if I'm on a hill like this horizontal, how am I going to kick the bike over? You can, but it's tough if you're in weird situations. I've also had these bikes stall out in the air, normally more on a 450 or a 4-stroke or something, where you come up, jump off something, tap the back brake way too hard, and the bike stalls. You just hit the magic button. You're good to go before you even land on the ground. If you're stopping with your buddies and you're talking on the trail, and you do that a lot, magic button. But just starting the bike up, and generally, you know, first starts or in between trail rides, it's not bad having the kickstart. I'm used to it. That's something that is a perk with this bike. 22 and back, they have a kickstart and an electric start. So that's a complete game changer. I love that. That's why I don't really want to get rid of this bike. This bike comes with handguards. This bike does not come with handguards. Here's the big one. This is one guys go on about, even between the Husqvarnas, because I think the Husqvarnas have a different brake. The Brembo. The Brembo is gold. It's awesome. These are aftermarket levers, but the stock levers are pretty good. That brake, it jerks the bike. It stops really good, especially on a 125. My first KTM was a 2009. That had a Brembo hydraulic brake, and that between a Yamaha was 9-day difference. This has a Niken or something. I can't pronounce it, but the brake's okay. It's a mediocre brake. It's not good. It's not bad. It's just okay. A lot of the things with the Yamaha, you know what? That's the best way to describe the bike. It's raw, unrefined, and it's not good and it's not great. It just gets it done. It's like a Leatherman tool. There's the brake rotor on that one. This one here, that's it there. I added an aftermarket brake guard. There hasn't been too many issues with the Brembo other than, you know, bleeding or the odd thing. Sometimes you get air in them. That's kind of a one-off with any hydraulic brake. Hydraulic clutch right there. That's pretty smooth. This one here, cable clutch. It's not bad. It has a lighter pull than the actual YZ due to the spring rate. What else do we have here? There's the front brake lever, better view. It's not bad, but they just feel very bulky, the brakes. That was the one thing I hated. First opinion, it was like, yeah, the brakes, the levers just feel like they're on a 1985 CR500. What else do we have? Gas tank. This one has the clear gas tank. That is almost essential in my opinion. I think every single bike should have that, almost like the race sleds where you're pre-mixing your gas. You can see how much gas you have. That's more essential than having a gas gauge or a big tank. So on this bike, it does have a big tank, but it doesn't use a lot of gas because it's only a 125. This one here, I'm kind of guessing. So that's a big downside. I wish everything had a clear tank. What else is there? Hour meter. Yeah, this thing has an hour meter right there. So if you're buying a bike, unless somebody's tampered with it, the KTMs come with hour meters. I'm honest, those are the hours. That's it. I maintain to the hour meter. That's what it is. Yamaha, they don't come with the hour meter unless it's installed at the dealer. This guy had the receipt for it. It was installed, I think, at the dealer or the factory. So that's a Yamaha hour meter. It's got 16 hours on it. It's a fairly clean bike. It wasn't ridden too hard from what I can see. The guy put on some case savers and a few things like that. I did pull them off to make sure the frame wasn't messed up. All the scratches in the frame guards are from me riding because I grip the bike with my legs, which is, I believe, what you're supposed to do. Pipe, exhaust, the stock exhaust in the KTMs are coated. I think it's like a zinc coating or something. These are normally a painted black steel exhaust. On the 250X, the exhaust is going to come in more. It's going to be a little tighter for clearance. This one came with an aftermarket exhaust. The guy didn't give me the stock exhaust. Long story short, it was kind of annoying, but I don't know how it's going to perform stock to an aftermarket. So I only know the bike with an aftermarket exhaust, and it sounds pretty good. It's pretty deep, runs okay. The bike came jetted really rich, so that was the only thing I changed. So I changed the jetting on it. I added stickers, handguards, and that's about it. So right now I'm running 32-to-1 Yamaha lube. I got a jug over there on the left. Came with the bike. That was nice. He threw that in, and I leaned out the jetting. So I leaned out the main and the pilot because I do a lot of like flowy single track. I'm not stringing the bike out. So for me, that works. I might switch to AMSOIL 41. Let me know your opinion on that because the oil thing is very controversial. Like I'm very torn on it. I run all good synthetic oils, but I don't know if I should go back to AMSOIL or just keep running Yamaha lube because I've heard of guys saying, yes, my pistons will look awesome after an Yamaha lube, and I don't know, a lot of controversy on that one. So back to the video here, back to the comparison. Suspension, that's got the air fork. That is loved and hated. That's the best way. It's up and down. When it's good, it's good. When it's bad, it's bad. So that fork performs really good in the rough stuff once you set up your air pressure and everything else. The only thing is once you hit, you know, little ruts in the track or whatever it may be, rocks, roots on the trails, it deflects. It doesn't soak it up. It deflects, and it's exhausting to ride. That is the thing I do not like about the air fork. The thing I do like about the air fork is it's really light. So it's a light fork, and it's kind of got a pogo feel. It kind of bounces. It's a not bad setup. This has the spring fork. That's the biggest reason I went to the Yamaha, was they have a really good KYB suspension. The suspension on this bike is phenomenal. The bike soaks up everything. My first opinion riding this bike was it's raw, it's unrefined, but you could hit rocks, roots, and instead of trying to go around them, the bike just soaks it up. The actual chassis, I guess you could call it the chassis, the whole bike, you feel like you're more in the cockpit on this bike. I can manual, like stand up wheelie through a whoop section and just ride it out. It's a very stable bike. It does feel old. It feels exactly like a 2001 YZ125 I had, but it's kind of more refined than that, but still pretty raw edged, the bike. That was my first opinion on it. It does have some shake to it. You know, for like the other day I went for a ride and my hand was actually tingling. So that could be the cheapy bars and cheap grips. So I'm going to put lock-ons, put the rental bars on. Now, I'm getting off topic again. The difference between this is a 22X model. The 22X model was unchanged. 23X model is the same as the 22 YZ non-X model. The 22, they changed the subframe, they changed the seat, the plastics, a few other cosmetic things. The one thing I didn't like was they reduced the tank size. So for somebody like me who rides trails, this bike already has a small tank, and it's a big motor. It uses a lot of gas. So that was one of the reasons I didn't go with the next step up, the next generation bike. But I did have some buyer remorse just for looks. I brought it home and I'm like, it looks old. You know what? The new one looks better. You put decal kits on the new ones. They're just kind of more of a moto bike, more of an SX bike. So the other issue was that bike is taller. It's got a long, tall seat. So you're actually more on the bike, where this, you're in the bike. I think this is a better enduro trail kind of setup. So that might help somebody if they're looking at the bikes. I sat on one in the showroom and I haven't actually ridden it, but I've talked to guys who have the bike and they say the same thing, that you're more on the bike. The suspension's stiffer. They increase the brake rotor size, put the foot pegs back, change the fairings that are in tighter. So I think it would be a good track bike, but this bike, you know what? It works. That's the best way to describe it. Back to comparison. Air filter, completely accessible. You just pull this off. You could do that at the side of the trail. This one, you got to pull bolts, pull the seat. What else do we have? Wheels. That has Excel anodized wheels. The blue, some people like it. I like the black personally. This has Maxxis rims. I think they're Maxxis. Tires are both the same. They're okay. 18-inch wheels on both cross-country bikes. That's going to give you a better hookup in, you know, more hard enduro, rocks, roots, whatever. I don't know if it really affects the handling of the bike. I've had SX bikes. I like them. The cross-country thing, some people don't care for it, but I think the perks of the little things are necessary. So, you know, kickstand, that was another one. I never thought I'd like a kickstand. It's, you know, once you have this race mentality, you're like, don't need any of those things. Don't need electric start. Keep it simple. But like, when you're at the side of the trail and you don't have to look for a tree and you want to take a piss or something, yeah, it's pretty good. Kickstand on this is solid as far as I can see. Kickstand on this is good. It's got the little rubber bungee. I might put one of those on the YZ. This here, if you have the same bike, put Loctite on that or make sure it's at least torqued, because you will lose the spring at some point. It happened to me. It's happened to other guys. They both have reserves. Reserves I don't really care for. Maybe on that I might need it because I can't actually see how much gas is in there. Where this I can see when I'm getting down low. I could tip the bike over and just start running into this section. This bike came with a skid plate. This bike did not come with a skid plate. What else is there? There's the Magic Brembo on the back again. Suspension. Plastics, I don't know. They seem like they don't scratch as much and they seem better quality on the KTM. That could just be in my head. What else is there? Trying not to ramble and trying to make this pretty smooth for you guys. Gearbox. Okay, this bike right here, this XC model specifically is more like an SX model. The motor is completely unchanged. The only thing they did was lean the jetting out on it. So they leaned the jetting and then they added, you know, a few extra cross-country perks. And they may have adjusted the power valve, but I don't think so. These bikes are all set different from the factory with a general kind of standard rating. That's an adjustable power valve. This is not. So this one on the YZ250X has like an extra shim, so it actually engages later. They changed the compression. It has less compression, so it's a little more smoother throughout the power band. And they changed the timing just to try and, I don't know, smooth things out for cross country, which, you know what? That's not bad. Really, you can carry more speed through a trail and ride quicker. You don't need to be strung out. If you're just hitting full power band on the straights and then coming into turns, sometimes you'll just blow a turn and you'll actually be riding slower. So even on this bike, I adjusted the carb. I have a bigger slide, so it's got a lot more bottom bend. And that helps. Really, I try and keep the bike flowing. But it's a fun bike. It's really light. What else is there? This has a different chain, I believe, compared to the normal YZ. This behind here is plastic, so that sucks. Guys, change that out. That one is not. Onto the other side, I don't know if there's anything I'm missing. Probably missing tons of stuff. But that's kind of my opinion on the bike. I'm sure I'm forgetting stuff. Okay, gearbox on that. See, I am forgetting stuff. Gearbox is different. Gears 1, 2, 3 are the same as the normal YZ. 4 and 5 are tall, top speed gears for fire road, stuff like that. I don't really use that, but you know, it might be handy on the odd trail. But that is them. Just thinking right now if there's anything else. So some people may be asking, well, why didn't you buy a new KTM? I rode a SX300 to 2024 and the bike was awesome. Very stiff, but it was an awesome bike, felt great. But they're not all great. And I've read a lot of reviews and talked to people, and I thought it was like, you know, maybe just the one-off complainer, but a lot of those bikes, motors are going at 10, 15 hours. They're completely blowing. They're having lean bogs, which would be more on a track situation. It could really get you hurt. But I'm going to wait for them to like iron out the bugs and see, because I don't want to be at the mercy of going to the dealer and having them plug in, you know, a scanner basically and reflash the bike. Like, I don't want to buy a $600 scanner and ECM and all this stuff. So that's kind of my opinion on the new KTMs. I'd probably, if anything, go back to a 4-stroke and ride a 350 XCF and try that out. Try something a bit different. I don't know if I'll go with the 2-stroke right now. I've ridden the XCWs and they're good for cross country, but to me, they always seem short framed, kind of high steering stem, and they're just different. They're just not what I'm used to. I like the track kind of feel of a bike for riding cross country. Enduro's another whole nother animal. So I don't really ride too much enduro. I ride some technical stuff, but mostly flowing stuff. So if that's what you're looking at, and maybe you're, you know, wondering to go back and forth between the two, KTM, Yamaha, I still think this is a really good, capable bike. I've only ridden it a few times. I put some hours on it. I'm not quite sure if I want to get rid of the 125 or keep it as, you know, just a play bike, but that is my opinion on these so far. That's kind of another look. So, any questions, any opinions? If you say, hey, you know what, there's something you should do to this bike or something you shouldn't do, or you know what, let me know. I like to engage in conversation over bikes. That's all I do, mostly bikes, hobby stuff. And I want to know what you guys are running for fuel mixture. I want to know what you're running for jetting. I want to know what you think of the bike, what your opinion is, things I can do, things I shouldn't do. I'm going to try and keep it cheap and not put too much money into it, but let me know what you think. Maybe you're on KTM, maybe you're on a Yamaha. I don't know. See how it goes, and hopefully that helps you in your decision if you're looking at buying one of these. So enjoy. Ride safe, ride fun, ride hard.